own. This is Ben Hall's Gap Forest. It's 60 kilometres southeast of Tamworth. Some call it God's own country. It's 3,000 hectares of untouched forest, and that's the way some environmentalists would like to see it remain. For 3 years they've been fighting to stop logging commencing here, but now time has run out. The environmentalists are now desperate, the Forestry Commission determined, and it's brought the two groups to a loggerhead. Is this a unique area that should be kept untouched for future generations, or is it a viable economic resource vital for industry, the timber industry? It's a tough question and no one has all the answers, although over the next half an hour we'll hear plenty of arguments for and against. Heading up the Greenies, Tony Wilkinson from the Ben Hall's Gap Committee and National Parks Association. There's Barb and Pat Graham, who've lived with the forest at their doorstep. Committee President Ron Webster, and Mr Australiana singer-songwriter John Williamson. The men who have found themselves on the defensive are the Forestry Commission, Regional Forester Brian Farrer and District Forester Ken Fussell. The man who will mill the timber taken from Ben Hall's Gap is Walker identity Leonard Fenning, and the man at the top, Natural Resources Minister Ian Causley.
There's got to be balance. Forestry see it as an economic resource, and I see it as an environmental resource. And I'm afraid it becomes a value judgment, and people have to make up their mind. They've got to say, well, you know, which is more important? Now, to me, obviously, the forest as it is more important.
That's how Tony Wilkinson sees it, and now the government is reassessing how they look at it. If this is a fight to save the forest, round one has gone to the Greenies. 6 days ago, the government announced it will do an environmental impact statement. Committee President Ron Webster sees that as a major victory. This EIS will give you a reprieve now, won't it?
Well, it will give us the time it takes to do the study and the time then for public submissions. And so I'd say 6 to 12 months, yes. No more will be done in the forest, and that's good news for everybody. It's
a reprieve for the Greenies, but the fight is continuing. So what and where is Ben Hall's Gap Forest? Well, the place where bushranger Ben Hall's dad used to hide his stolen cattle is full of huge mesmate stringy barks, manna gums and mountain gums. It's at the junction of the Great Dividing, Liverpool and Mount Royal ranges, and this is where it is in relation to Tamworth and Walker. The forest is 3,000 hectares, but for non-rural types, this is the area we're talking about. The red section is the built-up area of Tamworth City. If we were to superimpose the forest over the town, Ben Hall's Gap is just big enough to cover the entire city. Why can't the Forestry Commission just leave it alone? I mean, I guess that's at the heart of this very issue, isn't it? Why can't they just leave that 3,000 hectares alone?
Because I don't believe there is any reason to just leave it alone. It's a resource that we can manage for a multiple of benefits, and I believe it should be managed along those lines.
Why do you need to take it away from conservationists? You have to have pretty good reason to go in there with bulldozers, is what I'm trying to say. What are those reasons?
To maintain a resource to industry, to maintain an industry that's established in the area, and the timber industry in the area, and to maintain that industry we require that resource.
And that brings us to the timber industry and the Fenning Timber Mill in Walker. Should Ben Hall's Gap be logged, this is where the timber will end up. Leonard Fenning is the owner of the mill. Leonard, I guess some people may see you as the bad guy in this debate.
I think that people, Kylie, should realise that we're here for a purpose, and we should look to the long life of the forests. If we abuse the forests, the longevity of it isn't there, and we need the future. We're not planning just for tomorrow.
Ben Hall's Gap Forest, they say it's most significant. How special do you feel it is? Or is it to you a crop
it's just a crop. It's certainly an area that should be logged. It's an area that should be managed. It's also an area where parts of it will be left. Not all of it will be logged. It won't be stripped of everything, and it won't happen over the next 12 months or a short period of time. And certainly people can go and have a look at areas that have been logged, say, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and you can see the good growth that's there. The regeneration is unbelievable.
This forest is very similar to Ben Hall's Gap Forest with its snowgrass and eucalypts and wombats. It's Nungle State Forest on the top of the Great Dividing Range, and 28 years ago it was logged. Tractors, bulldozers, the whole lot. Today, no one could deny it's a beautiful forest, and the Forestry Commission says this is the type of regeneration that could be expected at Ben Hall's Gap. In some areas of the coast, like Herons Creek, forests which have been logged are actually eagerly sought after by conservationists who want them for national parks. It's something Regional Forester Brian Furrer feels backs up his case.
And now this area is being sought after as pristine and necessary to be locked up. It's unreasonable that people don't have more faith in the forestry process, in foresters in particular, and in the Forestry Commission to manage the state forests.
I guess, Brian, nothing will regenerate a tree stump, though, will it?
No, nothing will regenerate a tree stump, but it will regenerate the tree that was there. And in the same way as your grandmother and my grandmother will pass on, and our children will come along and take our place. You can't keep everything static. It's a dynamic world we live in. And to keep it in its best form and its best shape, you have to accept these in the way that it is. And there's beauty in age and there's beauty in youth. And we have both of these in the forest.
Our forests will regenerate. If you go in and you take out the timber as they want to, you'll have another forest grow there.
So what's so wrong with that?
It'll be a simple forest. It doesn't have the character. A log tree becomes what we call a same-age forest, where all the trees are tall and thin, which is what they want because you get nice straight timber.
A bit plastic. It's a plastic-looking forest.
Oh, to me it is, yes. I can see beauty in, I'd rather see trees than sort of barren ground any day, but it doesn't have the appeal. To me, it's the skyscraper versus, an old colonial building or something like that. They both have their place, but you shouldn't have to destroy all of one to get the other.
Coming up next, the dirty fighting at Ben Hall's Gap, and John Williamson joins in the battle.
This weekend, Cross Country reports on how 50% of our children are eating the wrong food and how sheep and cattle people are funding a campaign to help put things right. So join me this weekend for Cross Country.
11:45 Sunday on Prime Television.
Finer ingredients. There is no fresher cream. There are no cream soups like Campbell's cream soups. The very best cream soups you can serve.
It's a full house tonight, and whether you've got a box seat, good evening, or a seat at the back, g'day, there's one seat where everyone deserves the best. Kleenex toilet tissue. Kleenex softness and strength goes down well with any audience. And there's over 50 colours and patterns, from jazzy numbers to classical white. Evening. If it's Kleenex, it's bound to hit the right note.
Kleenex toilet tissue. Quality and choice rolled into one.
It's the best school.
The best, Dad.
Where is the academy?
New York.
Of course you want to see how she's doing. $30,000, $40,000? Well, actually, I'd go for a home equity loan. It works like this. What's your home worth, eh? $200,000? And what do you owe on the house? 30,000. You deduct that from the value of the house. You've got a $170,000 equity in your home. Now you can borrow against this equity for just about anything, at good rates too. For insurance, we can build it in. I reckon it's the best money you've ever spent.
Come on, Kevin, show us a plan.
How do you get their future together? How? Together with National Australia Bank.
This is a logging operation currently underway near Walker, and it's enough to strike fear into the hearts of those wanting to save Ben Hall's Gap from the same fate.
We've been coming up here for over 20 years and enjoying it on long weekends and those times like this. We've brought our grandchildren up here and they've enjoyed it. And I'd like it to stay that way for other people's grandchildren and their children's children. I think it'd be wonderful to have something of this sort of forest to be here for another 100 or 200 years.
Pat and Barb Graham, they're forest lovers and proud protectors of our country's heritage.
Yes, we come up here very often because it's such a wonderful place, and it's got a marvellous feeling when you're in a forest that has, well, it's a virgin forest that hasn't been logged, and it just you can feel the centuries and centuries that it's taken to get this going, and it's the lovely primeval feeling of the place.
Pat, you're an old logger, I believe.
Yes, I logged for many years.
It seems funny that an old logger would be coming into bat for a forest.
Well, I don't see why not. I mean, I appreciate timber very much, and I believe that I think we should all try and treat it as it should be treated. I don't mind them taking logs out, but I don't like them, destroying the forest to just get a few logs.
Pat and Barb have been enjoying the forest for 20 years, but they're among a very select few. You see, it's four-wheel drive access only through 2 private properties and some pretty hairy roads, and you need permission. The Forestry Commission says if they do log, they'd provide better access so that more people could enjoy the forest. Environmentalists say they don't want a road. That's not a selfish attitude, you don't think?
It's only selfish if you're robbing or you're taking away from someone else. And I think by logging it, they're taking away not just from the people now who are interested, but you're taking it away from, future generations. It sounds all very, lovely and that, but Australians get very much involved in, say, the harp seals issue, Now, how many people are going to end up in the Arctic and actually see a harp seal?
The day we went up to the forest, it was tough going. A snowstorm had brought down trees over the road, and it meant Pat had to rekindle some of his almost forgotten skills. Along for the ride on what turned out to be the coldest day of the year, singer-songwriter John Williamson. Just the threat of logging is enough to raise his anger.
It certainly is time to draw a line. We've got to start thinking about understanding the word wilderness, and that's areas for life. We don't have to walk amongst it, really. You can if you want to, but it's really here for the sake of our animals that are getting rarer and rarer, and there's lyrebirds in here as well.
The Forestry Commission do come in for a lot of flack. Do you think the farmers and landholders have a case to answer for as much, if not more, than the Forestry Commission?
My word, yes. Virtually the farmers, and I'm including myself there, I've cleared quite a bit of brigalow, and it wasn't until I got away that I realised that we've virtually left no decent stands of brigalow, Blar Wilga country, which is great wheat country, in New South Wales at all. And I feel bad about that. I think there should have been some law, but it's too late. And I agree. I think the rural industry has destroyed more of our wilderness than anything else.
Oh, we need a timber industry. I'm sure you've probably got a timber framed house.
Yeah,
we need timber.
I like timber.
You like timber, you've probably got a timber table.
And I love furniture, yeah.
So what do? You can't not log.
Maybe there's just a backing off for a while. I mean, surely our heritage is more important. You know, this is for life hereafter. You know, forever.
It sounds good, but is it practical? In Walker alone, there are around 70 families whose income is directly derived from the timber mill. Plus, there are numerous backup industries.
How much is this worth to the government or to the Forestry Commission, Ben Halls Gap?
The royalties directly to the government from Ben Halls Gap would be in excess of $1 million. Now, that doesn't, by no means takes into account the value added that you get from the employment that it generates and the value added from support industries.
$1 million, do you think that's a good figure to put on Ben Halls Gap? Do you think, for maybe the destruction that it may cause, do you think $1 million is a fair return?
It isn't just the $1 million, is it? It's the value added that you get from, the support industries.
The fight to save this forest hasn't always been a clean fight. In fact, it's got down to be quite dirty. Several months ago, trees were found to be spiked. That's where nails are driven into the tree. When the saw hits it, the saw explodes. Both sides of the argument deny they had anything to do with it.
I don't know who did it. I know that somebody's emotions ran high enough to do it, and it's a little sad, that's all.
Could you understand why a timber person would want to do that?
I can assure you that a true timber person wouldn't do it. A person within the industry.
Not even to discredit, say, conservationists?
No. That was vandalism, and we've done nothing but go through courts or attempt to go through courts. We've done nothing but follow the normal procedures. We're now in the process of lobbying, trying to gain public support.
So spiking isn't your passion?
Oh, no. I wouldn't condone violence or a criminal act in any form. I don't think any forest is worth it.
Coming up next, is there room for middle ground in this debate as community support swells for conservation?
Rip, wood chip, turning in the paper, throwing in the bin, no news today. Nightmare dreaming, can't you hear the screaming? Chainsaw rise or Mordecai.
Don't be unfair. A little bit of Scottish crumpet. Could happen. Watch it. We'd all be surprised, wouldn't we? And who knows what else would happen? It was the rabbits in the meat.
Tonight's weather check is brought to you by Seed and Grain Sales of Moree, Mungandai, Boggabilla, Cropper Creek and Warrialda. Tomorrow's weather outlook presented by the Northwest's leading agricultural centres. The Northern Tablelands forecast cool to cold, partly cloudy day, west to southwesterly winds, Armidale 9 degrees, Inverell 12. Northwest Slopes and Plains cool overnight, partly cloudy day, moderate northwesterly winds, Tamworth 12 and Moree 15. For the mid-north coast, cool, dry day with lengthy sunny periods, northwest to southwesterly winds, Port Macquarie, Taree and Kempsey all 16 degrees. And for the Hunter, brief showers overnight, a cool day, northwesterly winds, Newcastle 16 and Scone 13. Weather Check is a nightly service presented by Seed and Grain Sales of Moree.